Hey all, this is Ed.
And this is Kara.
And this is your day's dumpster fire. Okay, okay. Alright, I think I got it. There we go. Wow. That's like, what, the third time that it's worked?
Yeah. Something like that.
So, no, it's been a wild ride. It's been a crazy couple of weeks.
Has been.
Good Lord, yeah, because, you finished off the school year.
Yeah.
I was actually kind of participant in those final days of the school year, and I could tell that, you're ready for that school year to be over with.
Yeah. I needed the break. But then I signed up to help with summer camp.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yep. So I'm helping with summer camp. I had a week off.
Okay.
And then I'm helping with summer camp, but it's only part-time, so it's only like 4 hours. So it's not too bad. It's nice.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a good experience. I feel like when you do summer camp stuff with adolescents, there's something about a summer camp that is different than the school setting, if that makes sense. Like, you can have a completely unique experience and influence on someone from May to August than you do from August to like May.
Yeah, not as structured, not as formal. I mean, you still have to have your formalities in there, of course. You're still working at school, but it's not as like, you're not having to worry about a ton of curriculum. You're not having to worry about grading their work. It's more like, hey, this looks great. It's beautiful. Let's do the next thing.
Hey, this looks interesting, and we didn't burn down too much of the school, so let's try this tomorrow and see what happens.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. Tie into my trash can fire a little bit.
Oh, good. Yeah. Let's get into the trash can fire.
All right.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what you have, because from what we were talking before the show, your trash can fire kind of ties into my episode somewhat.
Yeah. Well, kind of. Well, not. Okay. So we've been having an ongoing pattern of taking a subject that we want to talk about, and it turns out to be an iceberg situation where you only got the tip of the iceberg, and then you actually do the research, and it's stupid amounts of research.
Yeah.
Right?
No, yeah.
Okay. So I had an assignment for my school stuff to create a 10-minute lesson, but in like a story form, and to do it in a way where it basically includes everything, and you can branch off of that core story and do lessons from it. Okay, so that's the goal. So I chose the Hoover Dam because you can do history, science, and math all in one story.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I decided to do the Hoover Dam. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this lesson like I do the podcast, and I'm just going to tell this story like I would on the podcast. And then I got into it, and 10 minutes turned into like an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of material. And I'm like, I need to narrow this down. Because this was due 4 days ago, and I need to get it done. But there's only so much I can talk about. And obviously in 10 minutes. But that's kind of the point, because you obviously want to have your lessons branch off of your core story. So it's more of, how can I make this interesting enough, but also compact enough to where I can branch off of it later? Yeah. And I'm telling you now, I am totally going to make this a unit, because there's so many cool things about it.
Okay.
But I got to figure this out first.
Well, you've got the summer to figure it out.
Yes, but because it's an assignment, I have to do it very, very soon.
Okay, so you can...
My 10-minute part.
So you can just half-ass it, right? Submit that, and then you can focus on expanding that out throughout the school year, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, like, the full-on unit as a whole, that's going to be a summer project.
But the 10-minute part of it...
Well, yeah, the 10-minute part is... Yeah. I gotta get that done, like, tomorrow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, my goal is by Friday, but,
So so are you just doing like a narrative type of thing,
Yeah,
or?
it's gonna be like a narrative type of thing. I found a really cool documentary about it that I was watching before I hopped on today, so I'll probably use that to help me navigate, but yeah.
So if I were to be joining a similar type of program sometime in the future, would I be required to do a similar type of lesson?
Very likely.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a reason for that, and I can tell you later. I mean, I can tell you now, but then that would add a lot of minutes to the podcast, and I don't know if everybody wants to hear about Montessori theory, so we can just talk about that off.
Yeah, no, we can add that down. Only reason I bring it up is that I love when you can look back at your life and you can have a story or something that happened to you that when you really kind of like look back at it and dive into it and you realize, oh my gosh, this covers just a wide range disciplines of study and stuff like that. There is something magical about that.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like a whole how can I put this? Piece of Montessori pedagogy that is used and it is cherished and it is like very, very core to Montessori lessons. I'm going to stop it there. I could go on, but I'm going to stop it there just to keep it short. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
but the heart of the trash can fire is that you and I both fall into this trap where, because we do, like, for you listeners out there, we literally have a spreadsheet of,
we do. It's a big spreadsheet.
Like we've got years worth of content on there because Kara and I, what we do is we go to work and we fail at everything that we do, and we look at everything that fails around us, and we get depressed, and then we look up stuff in history and like, golly, do we suck that much?
It makes us feel better about ourselves.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. It's just like we look at everybody else in the past and like, God, like, are we that awful? And then we're like, once we study this, no, we're not. Like,
we're human beings doing human things.
Yeah, like a human being is physically incapable of beating the very first Mario game on the first try. We will die and die and die and die, and then after such a long period of time, then we figure it out. Now, it's so easy for us to just go back. It like, we can look at a YouTube video and be like, whoa, dude, this guy beat all of Mario, the first Mario game, in like 3 minutes. What a legend. Yeah, but if you were to go back and look at the amount of hours and the amount of times that guy had killed Mario and all that, it would be a really boring video. And so, yeah, I feel like when we look at today's topic, the episode that I've got going on today, I wanted it to be like a lighthearted type of incident. I wanted it to be comical. And when I started digging into it, much like with General Custer and like what you probably experienced at Hindenburg, is just like, oh yeah, Custer, over the top, zealous guy, did something stupid, got himself killed, and yeah, what a joke of history. No, like once you dive into it, it quickly expanded into like a 3-part episode.
Yeah.
Where you have to look at a lot of different facets and you have to accept the idea that, was Custer a little out there? Yeah. Was he as bad as what like 1970s films made him out to be? No. And you probably discovered the same thing with von Hindenburg.
Well, his was more like, I just thought the guy put Hitler in there to try and, save everything by putting him in control. But I didn't realize or have a full grasp or understanding of all the complexities and political nonsense that was behind that decision.
Yeah. And I think as we've dove into this podcast more and more, like the theme of just looking at historical dumpster fires, we think of it as a dumpster fire when we first dive into it thinking like, okay, yeah, this will be humorous, this will be funny, right? All these emus just kicking everybody's butt. Like no, that was legit
That one was
funny.
hilarious. Yeah, that one was good.
Yeah, that's like a legit dumpster fire. But then when we looked at Winston Churchill and Cleopatra and the simple art of making bread and radioactive dispensing machines and nuclear reactors, it's like, holy crap, this is a lot more complicated than I thought. And I can kind of see why or how things would blow out of proportion so fast. And and today's episode is a perfect example of that.
Well,
And
let's get into it. What are we talking about today?
So yeah, we're looking at the Great Molasses Flood of Boston, Massachusetts in 1919. Molasses, the thick brown syrupy stuff. It's, you know, everybody has a parent that, or a mother or grandmother that has a big old jar of molasses that's been in their pantry for the past 5 decades, and you look at this stuff and you don't think anything of it. But there was a time where this molasses killed like 21 people, injured another 150, and did like millions of dollars worth of damage to infrastructure, to buildings, to roads, to vehicles. This molasses flood actually flung people into the bay.
What?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just like, I remember hearing about this when I was in high school and thinking like, really? Molasses? You can walk away from it. Like, I kid you not. Like, if you were to bust open even a 55-gallon drum of molasses, dump it on the ground, you could probably get on the ground and crawl away faster than that molasses will get you. And so I was kind of diving into this a little bit, thinking like, okay, 1919, America, we've got 21 really, really dumb people that somehow got killed by molasses. Until I started digging into it, until I started looking at some of the science behind it, and then suddenly I have a phobia of molasses. Like, if I see a jar of molasses in my pantry fall over, I'm running out of the house and burning it down, because I never knew that molasses could be so deadly. So yeah, let's dive into this. Let's a part of what made the Great Molasses Flood of 1919 so famous is for the why it was so popular in 1919. So we've got to kind of take a look at what molasses is, and then we need to kind of look at what it's used for, because it does serve two purposes. It can be used for like baking purposes. It can also be used for alcohol production, because, you know, rum and people need alcohol, but you can also use it for making weapons and explosives. And so, like, when we look at 1919, there is a lot of stuff going on at that time that kind of merited the necessity for molasses for both like human consumption and making bombs. And then yeah, from there we're going to look at like what really happened and some of the science behind it. I promise I'm not going to get too science heavy, because there's some folks that I work with that don't believe that science exists.
I hate that. Get as sciencey as you want.
I will. I know a person who I'm not going to specify the gender, who they don't even believe that there is a backside to the moon, because we only see the same side of the moon every night. Therefore, the moon is nothing more than a picture in the sky. Yay for voters.
Oh, God. That's more terrifying than the molasses.
I know. Yeah, I'm right there with you. But I'm not going to dive into that. Let's dive into what it's used for. So, as many of you probably know, molasses it's a very thick brown, it's a dark brown syrup, and it can be derived from a couple of different sources, but the main one is sugar canes. So if you take sugarcane and you kind of like you run it through a press, like you squeeze the sugarcane very very flat, and then you kind of grind it at the same time. You start releasing. I don't know. The best word I could put it is like it's like a type of juice. It's a very watery, but it's a very sugary type of substance. If you go back in American history, like when you start looking at the Caribbean, one of the big productions out of the Caribbean was rum production or sugarcane. A lot of people would just chew on sugarcane as like almost like a modern day Jolly Rancher.
Sugarcane was one of the biggest economical pieces of trade before cotton. So
Yes.
you'll see sugarcane linked in there with slavery in the history of slavery quite often in American history. And it was the biggest, hottest item before cotton took over.
Yeah, you're right. Because there was a time period where like you would bring slaves in from Africa into like Barbados and you know in the Caribbean, and then you would produce sugarcane, which would then be exported to make rum. But following the rum came the slaves, and then it like America would keep the slaves and then transport out the rum, and that went on for a time period. I think I have that right.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
And I'm not completely sure of the process in detail. It was more on an economical and historical lens that I was looking at it in.
yeah, especially and then I know it really exploded when cotton became really productive, because the cotton industry in the South needed a lot of manpower. And where do you get that manpower from? Cool. Human trafficking.
Yeah.
And then how do you fund that human trafficking? Sugarcane and rum.
Right. Especially like right before the cotton gin was invented, it was all about sugarcane. And then the cotton gin was invented, and then it was all about cotton.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no. So yeah, like sugarcane it's kind of a big deal, and it still is to this day. Now we can get it from like beets. Basically anything that produces any sort of degree of sucrose, which is kind of like a water soluble form of sugar. And so yeah, molasses. The juices then boil down, kind of like how you make maple syrup. So this juice is then boiled down so that the water can evaporate away, and what is left is a solution where the sugar molecules that are no longer suspended in water for crystals can be extracted. So you can do this any number of ways. I think by today's standards, the easiest way is to take this juice, put it in a machine that spins it around really, really fast. And I believe it's called centrifugation, where basically like the water is kind of like pushed out the sides because it's spinning so fast, but then the sugar crystals stay in the middle. What happens is that like the stuff that you collect in the edge of the container, then you can boil that down. And so when you first boil that syrup down, that's called the first syrup, and it's generally a lighter brown color. It's thinner. It behaves a lot more like maple syrup. Then you can take what was left over and boil it down again. So this is actually called distilling. This is how most, hard alcohols are made out of. You ferment something, and then you boil it down, and then because alcohol has a different boiling point than water does, you can collect the alcohol in separate containers and whatnot, and that's your spirits. You can do the same thing with sugar here. So you can boil the sugar water down, and then each time you get a darker and darker version of it. So the second boiling, produces what is known as grade B molasses, and it's thicker, darker brown in color. That is mostly what we see in the stores. That's like the most edible form of it for baking purposes. And then the third boiling and certification produces what is known as blackstrap. And
sounds like a pirate. Sorry.
I know, right? Yeah.
Sounds like a pirate.
Yeah, I mean, if I was a pirate, I would be more than happy to go by the name of Blackstrap.
That's pretty good.
And so, yeah, like this is kind of like what we have in our minds of what molasses looks like. It is almost black. It almost has like a bitter flavor to it because it's so concentrated. But what's so funny about blackstrap molasses is that it's actually really healthy for you. Yeah, I mean, sure, there's a ton of sugar in it, but whenever you render this stuff down more and more and more, you're left over with very healthy minerals, nutrients. It contains less sugar, and yeah, it's actually good for you in a strange way. So
interesting.
Yeah, I didn't think that would be the case. I figured anything named blackstrap would be bad for you.
Fair.
Even like blackstrap coffee or blackstrap tea or blackstrap tobacco, you just kind of think like, dang, that's going to kill me. But in all reality, that blackstrap stuff is the most nutrient rich form of it, which I thought that was kind of interesting. Again, diving into a dumpster fire here, and we're quickly discovering that not all trash is made equal. And so, yeah, okay, so what is it used for? So right from the start, molasses is a great sweetener and flavor enhancer. I learned that people in Boston during the 1920s would use old soup cans, and they would actually make a molasses sweetbread in these soup cans.
That's cool.
I have full intentions of making this.
Oh, I'm going to try that in the classroom.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
no, we need to try it. Also, side note, my wife taught me a really, really cool thing on how to make cheese.
Okay.
In the classroom, how to make yogurt. It's all like perfectly healthy, natural, like straight up people in the past knew what they were doing.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really easy to make today. Like I seriously, my wife made a whole bunch of homemade ricotta, and I'm like, this crap is good.
Science.
Yeah, and it's literally just whole milk and some acid, and I love studying the history of how like people ate back then, because it's not what we think it was. We think people just had really, really bad hygiene and no teeth and crap like that. Nah, man, like they ate very well, and most people died with more teeth than what most people have today.
I believe it.
So yeah, what is it used for? Yeah, it's really used as a flavor enhancer. It's a sweetener. Probably the biggest thing, especially in America, that it is used for is for alcohol production. It's divided into two different components. There's alcohol production for human consumption, and there's alcohol production for industrial consumption. So you can take molasses and you can mix it with a bunch of yeast and a bunch of water, and you basically put it in these vats, and yeah, you let it sit. And over the course of time, and if you watched, or not watched, if you watched, that's kind of weird, but if you listen to the bread episode, you'll notice that yeast loves anything with sugar in it. And anything with sugar and a water medium, so you need a medium for the little yeasties to swim around. I don't know, can yeast swim? I have visions of them like little arms swimming around looking for like little floating Jolly Ranchers, but yeah, you need some water, you need some yeast, you need some sugar, and like you can do this at home. You can take like a soda bottle and fill it halfway full with like purified water, and then you can take like 10 tablespoons of sugar and just dump it into that soda bottle or water bottle. Mix it up really, really good, and then if you take like 2 tablespoons of yeast and you dump it into that water solution, don't mix it up, just just kind of like gently pour it in and put a cap on it. After a couple of days, that bottle will explode.
Cool.
Now, if you don't want to have that explode, what you can do is you can glue like a little aquarium hose into the top of it and attach it to like a balloon, or you can just take like a balloon in general and just kind of like, like poke a hole in the top of the cap, and then you can take your balloon and stretch it over like you're making a like a water balloon. And then what will happen over the course of days is it will start releasing CO2. That balloon will fill up.
Cool.
And like it will fill up. And then what you'll see inside the bottle is you'll see like this light brown tannish color foamy stuff, and that is literally the yeast producing alcohol.
Huh.
So yeah, you could literally drink that. It consists of maybe 0.1% of alcohol. It will do absolutely nothing for you, and it will taste horrific. But that foam that you see forming in there, that is the yeast reproducing, and it farts out CO2. Cool. And it pees out alcohol.
Cool.
That's what makes bread have that foamy type of texture to it. Because then if you're to like suddenly bake it really, really fast, it kills all the yeast, evaporates the alcohol, boom, you have bread. So yeah, like when you're using rum, it's a great source of ultimately producing alcohol, because you would dump a bunch of yeast in there, put it in a vat. It would ferment for days or weeks at a time. And then you would basically dump all that. They call it mash, especially if it's done with like a corn base or something like that. It's called a mash. They will dump that out, and then they start boiling it down. And then as you boil it down, it releases the ethanol, and ethanol will condensate at a different temperature than water. The water stays where it's put, and then now you can start bottling up the alcohol. And so literally that is how a vast majority of alcohol was produced. And we look at 1919, especially right around January 14th, January 15th of this whole incident. What major piece of government legislation was going down at this time that may have played a part in this incident?
We'll give you 5 seconds to answer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Prohibition!
Oh, prohibition. Oh, my Lord. Yeah, that is a dumpster fire episode in its own right.
That's like a 2-parter.
Yeah.
Maybe 3, if we want to get into the cool stuff.
Oh, yeah, like get into like the mobs and like, oh, yeah. Like Boardwalk Empire, Al Capone, like
oh, yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, like a simple piece of legislation that we were hoping would like kind of clean up society and make men behave better and this and that, completely backfired. And this is where we get like really famous stories like The Great Gatsby, and yeah, it is.
It's a fun time.
You and I, we need to do an episode on that, because the whole prohibition thing was an absolute mess. But if you were a producer of, or a collector or proprietor of rum for the sole purpose of making alcohol, and it was right around January 14th or 15th, the Prohibition Amendment went into effect like a day after that. I would imagine that you as a businesswoman, or me as a businessman, would be like, the price of this molasses is going to skyrocket.
Mm-hmm.
And so we need to collect as much of this crap as possible, because once this amendment goes into effect, we only have like a year before everything that we're doing is considered illegal. And we are in a position to capitalize on this. So yeah, like when we look at this molasses flood, one of the components that really played into it was the passage of the 18th Amendment. And yeah, people were trying to collect as much molasses as possible because you needed to make as much alcohol as possible before it was considered illegal everywhere. So yeah, the 18th Amendment was proposed in 1917, and it was a hot topic for some time leading up to the 1919 Molasses Flood. So alcohol producers were racing up or ramping up production for a massive buying spree so that American people could stock up on their favorite alcoholic beverages prior to the 18th Amendment going into effect. So, and it does take time because you have to ferment this stuff, you have to distill it, you have to bottle it, you have to let it sit for months at a time. And so, yeah, like leading up to all this, like everybody was just trying to get as much molasses as possible. And there was people that were even storing molasses in their home bathtubs.
Ew.
And they were collecting corn and wheat and barley, like anything that had any sort of sugar content in it. They were trying to collect it because, like, yeah, you have a bathtub full of corn, put some water in it, throw some yeast in it. After a period of time, have yourself a corn mash, and now you're making moonshine.
Cool.
Where you can't control the alcohol output of it, and it was making people go blind. So,
cool. Yeah, that's what we want.
Cool. Yeah, that's some good stuff right there. If you can't even see the bottle that you're trying to drink out of, because, yeah.
It'll put some hair on your chest.
Or take it off, or strip the lacquer off of a boat.
Just burn it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking of that episode of Parks and Rec where, what was it? It was Ron Swanson's mom, Tammy, showed up, and they started drinking that Swanson swill or whatever it was. And then Leslie like jumps in and she starts like having this drinking contest, and Ron's like, no, Leslie, don't. We use this to strip the lacquer off of boats. And she's like 8 shots in, and she just gets absolutely wrecked.
Yeah. God, I love that show.
Oh, it's such a good show. I'm going to watch it tonight.
Sounds good.
Actually, we should do like what Morbid does and do like a rewatch.
Oh, that's a great idea. But we'll do Parks and Rec.
Yeah, because they do the...
we're
not sponsored, but I love Morbid. But they do Buffy the Vampire.
Buffy. They do
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Couple letters off, but you got it.
Yeah, I got it. We're there. It's close enough.
Yeah, we're good. They do
so
Buffy.
Yeah, we should probably do that. We should probably actually, and then we get my wife involved because she's like a huge Parks and Rec fan.
Yeah, we'll get my husband in here because he's a big Parks and Rec guy.
Oh, is he really?
Oh, he loves that show.
I feel like he's a Ron Swanson at heart.
I
can also see him like a Jerry.
No, not like Jerry. I don't know who I would compare my husband to from that show.
Yeah, no, it's
I gotta think on that. I had to take some time on that one.
Oh, well, and there's Jerry, and then there's also the guy, like, he was always having like a new business scheme, like make it rich quick.
Yeah,
Tom
Haverford.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see him being like that.
That's his. Yeah, that's more like his jam.
Well, and I'm the guy that has I'm that shock jock radio host. Like, it has all like the fart sounds in the background for like no reason at all, kind of a thing.
Perfect.
Yeah. So, and then Aaliyah, you know Aaliyah, my youngest daughter, she's Leslie.
Oh, 100%.
Because she just has like unbelievable hope for everybody.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, no, let's talk about making bombs.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah. So the other thing that you can do with alcohol is you can make explosives. And during this time, 1919, some of you may have just gotten off the throes of the Gallipoli, dumpster fire. World War I kind of came to an end, and a lot of people were realizing that America was grossly unprepared going into that war. And so they figured, hey, what can we produce that won't get people drunk, but we can use it to blow people up? And one of the best igniters of high explosives is alcohol. So again, you ferment molasses down a certain way. You produce a different type of alcohol. It's a methanol. So this is the crap that will kill you.
Mm-hmm.
I've come across former students who thought that they could drink like a methanol based alcohol and it will make you horrifically sick and you'll be vomiting everywhere. And if you drink too much, it will kill you because, yeah, it's designed to blow people up.
So don't drink it.
You know what? If you're underage, don't drink any alcohol.
That's fair.
Yeah, just steer clear of it.
You don't need it.
Yeah, no, yeah, you've got a whole life ahead of you.
You really don't.
And you got a liver. And
yeah, I'm okay. My pro tip for our friends who are under 21: Mountain Dew and Pixie Sticks at the same time.
Oh,
it'll get you there. That's all you need. That's all you need.
Isn't that called meth?
Got me through high school.
Oh my lord. You remind me of the student that I had who was in like this biotech program at the high school that I taught at. And he's like, yeah, Mr. Mulpey, I want to create caffeinated sugar.
See?
And there was another student that spoke up and he's like, bro, that's called meth.
But no, there's a safe way to do it. I'm here to say it.
I guess I like sleeping once a week, so I'm going to avoid it. So I'll take your word for it. Mountain Dew and Pixie Sticks.
Yeah, I don't do that anymore. I stopped that in college, but
yeah, it hits you quicker when you snort it, anyways.
Okay, yeah, I didn't try that. I should have thought of that.
Moving on.
Yeah.
So yeah, a really big contributor of molasses was in the production of explosives. And so I could go into the chemistry behind that, but I'm not, because I'm not in the business of having a podcast and how to teach people how to make bombs.
That's fair.
Just take my word for it. It was commonly used for making ignition systems for bombs, and as well as making, swat or swill that would make people go blind if you weren't careful. So
cool.
So okay, this is why molasses was popular at this time. So what actually happened? All right. We go all the way back to January 13th and the 14th of 1919. There was kind of some weird stuff that was happening on those 2 days. One, with Prohibition just right around the corner, molasses shipping vessels were coming in by the droves into Boston Harbor, and they contained millions of gallons of molasses. And this was also like during the winter months. You've heard the common saying, like, slow as molasses in a January day, or, something of that nature. This stuff is like tar at this point. So yeah, as could be expected, molasses in January, especially in the colder climate like Boston, will be really, really thick and impossible to pump through tubing or pipes. And you're thinking 1919s, we're talking hit and miss engines. We're talking pumps with like leather gaskets. Like, this equipment was not very strong compared to what we have today. So what they would do is they would heat the molasses up in the ships, and this would make it, a lot less viscous. This would make it a lot more fluid, but it'll also heat it up to like, 80, 90 degrees, even over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which to you and I, that's like body temperature. But what else grows in body temperature environments with a lot of sugar and water?
What?
I don't know. What do you need to make alcohol?
Yeast.
Yes. I will shorten that delay down to make us sound a lot smarter.
Thank you.
Like we're on top of it. So yeah, basically, like, yeast grows everywhere. It's everywhere. It's literally living on everything. And so when they were heating this and when they were heating this molasses up, it would now start the fermentation process, which, again, it's not that big of a deal. We're talking like a day or so. Cool, whatever. So, as could be expected, the molasses generate, especially in colder climate, blah, 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 blah. Like, they had to heat it up. The problem with the 13th and the 14th in January, temperatures in Boston were below freezing, so they really had to heat this stuff up. And since time was short, the ships needed to heat the molasses up pretty hot to get it unloaded in a timely manner. Like they were literally taking the engine's exhaust and all the heat that was coming out of it, and they were circulating it around these tanks, and they're trying to get it as hot as possible so that it would become thin as possible so they could pump as much of it as possible into a very specific tank. That's, it's on the north end of Boston. It was a 50-foot tall, 90-foot in diameter tank of molasses that could hold 2.3 million gallons of molasses. And this thing was filled to the brim.
Oy.
Keep in mind, this tank had never been filled to this degree of capacity before, nor has it ever been filled with as hot as molasses as it had ever been before.
Okay.
Oh, and the guy who designed the tank was like a glorified accountant who had absolutely zero engineering experience and had no idea of how to test this tank, let alone the thickness of the steel walls or anything. And so he kind of like tested the strength of it by filling it full of like grain.
Cool.
Which is like 100 times less dense than molasses. So yeah, what could possibly go wrong?
Everything.
Yeah, so let's talk about what actually happened here. So on the 15th, and this is the weird thing, and many would argue that if this environmental phenomenon didn't take place, this tank may not have exploded into the degree that we had learned or seen it happen. So on the 15th, the temperatures went from below freezing to like over 40 degrees. So we're talking like literally a 20-30 degree shift from a below freezing where all the ships are just heating their molasses up as hot as possible to the next day. It now is well above freezing, and now they have a whole bunch of really hot molasses, and they're like, fine, just keep it going, just fill this tank up. At around 12:30, residents as well as like bystanders, and we're talking people that were hundreds of yards away from this, and keep in mind, there was like a school right next to this tank, there was a playground.
Lovely.
There was like a residential area. If you were going to Google Maps and look up the Molasses Flood 1919, it's got like a water park. It's got baseball fields. Like, it's a really cool place to go to. And rumor has it that if you go there on a really, really hot summer day, you can still smell the molasses. But 12:30, people heard what sounded like a clap of thunder.
Bang.
Bang, boom. Yeah, like you nailed it. Onomatopoeia right there. That's exactly what it sounded like.
Bang.
Poof, bang, whatever. Yeah, we got it. We got the dramatic effect in there.
Yeah, it's fine. Maybe we'll put in a sound effect.
Everybody heard like this loud clap of thunder, but there was no clouds in the sky or anything. And then all of a sudden, a giant wave of black molasses just emanated from the North End beach that was 25 to 30 feet tall and moving at 35, almost 40 miles an hour. It like this giant tsunami of molasses just like covered everything.
It does sound actually really scary.
It does, but like,
it sounds dumb, but it sounds scary.
Yeah, it's just almost like, bro, how did you die from molasses? Like, why? What happened here? And we're going to get into that. Like, but we need to kind of look at the damage here, because this was something. I feel like the long descendants, like the British descendants of the Boston Tea Party, in England, basically just looked at America this time and went, tag karma.
Right.
Because, yeah, maybe it was a lot like all this lost karma from the Boston Tea Party. It was kind of in the same area. But yeah, this giant tank exploded and it created a tsunami that was of really thick. We're talking stuff that is like, 40 times more dense than water rushing at you at 35 to 40 miles an hour. 21 people were caught up in the tsunami, and they were more than likely suffocated because it was like being caught in just pure flypaper. In addition, 150 people were injured in the wave from the debris. So not only did the shockwave, or not only did the tsunami hit 21 people, but there was a shockwave, and it launched cars, it launched people into the bay. Yeah, it was it was crazy. There was an elevated train. They call them L trains. I think I'm saying that right. You folks in the east, let me know. But yeah, there's these L trains are like 20, 30 feet up in the air, and they're kind of like above ground subways. This wave actually hit and sent a lot of debris into the structures that upheld that L train and pretty much decommissioned that thing for a while. Yeah, it was a horror show. Like, people, like, obviously, right, humans, holy crap, what's going on here? So people started to rush in, and all of a sudden, like, you'd be thinking, like, hey, you can probably wade through water that's waist high. But if you actually wade into, say, molasses ankle high, you are stuck. Like, you're done. You can't go any further. And so a whole bunch of people started to rush in and try to rescue people because, hey, there are some decent human beings out there. They tried to rush in, and then they got stuck themselves. And some even died in the process of trying to rescue other people. Like, on top of that, this shockwave, like I said before, it launched people, cars, dozens of feet. Some people were hurled into the bay. It actually picked up horses and launched them dozens of feet.
Jeez.
Yeah, like, this was a straight up explosion. And it's just absolutely mind blowing because it's like, guys, it's molasses in January. What's going on here? And when I started digging into this, and this is where we're going to get into some sciencey stuff. So I apologize, flat earthers. I apologize to anybody who thinks we didn't land on the moon, but we're talking molasses here, and yes, the world is round, and yes, we landed on the moon, and yes, molasses is some weird stuff, like Bill Nye the Science Guy weird stuff. So, do you remember when you were younger, Kara, do you remember, like, in your high school chemistry classes or junior high classes where you mixed, like, a certain amount of cornstarch and water together?
We made oobleck last week.
Oh, did you really?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Oobleck is amazing.
Oh, yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, and oobleck is, yeah, it's a really weird substance. It's, you make it at home, and I've made gallons of this stuff. You've probably seen YouTube videos where people kind of fill up like a small, like, swimming pool full of this stuff, and like, you can run across it. And like, it's hard when you put a lot of pressure on it, but then, like, as soon as you run across it and then you stop, you're going to sink in. And then trying to, like, pull yourself out, it doesn't work. And the reason why that is the way it is, it's a non-Newtonian fluid, but there's two different kinds. So essentially, when you mix cornstarch and water together, you get a substance that behaves uniquely under pressure. The technical term is a shear thickening fluid. So if you were to, like, really zoom in and look at cornstarch molecules in water, the water and the cornstarch molecules, they kind of separate out, like they're evenly dispersed. And yeah, it will behave like a fluid. But as soon as you put pressure on there, that cornstarch immediately sticks together and it forms a solid. Like, you can punch this oobleck stuff as hard as you want, and you're never going to break through it. But if you punch it and hold your fist there, it'll eventually sink in, because eventually what will happen is that the cornstarch will realize, oh, we're not under that much pressure anymore. And then it will disperse and then now turns into a liquid again. Now, let's look at molasses. Molasses is a non-Newtonian fluid, and it does react in the sheer behaving scene, but what it does is that under a lot of pressure, it thins out.
So it does the opposite of oobleck.
Yes, it's called a shear thinning property.
Okay.
So, and I kind of want to try this. I kind of want to try the idea of maybe setting up a container with molasses in it, and then like have a almost like a little like check valve on the bottom of it, right? And you heat the molasses up, and then you can measure how much of the molasses is flowing out of the bottom of the valve, and then I would be kind of curious to see, like, close that valve and then apply a ton of pressure on it, right? Like, just apply a ton of pressure on it and then release it really, really quick and then open up the valve.
See what it does.
And then it should be streaming out, like, very fast. And then it should eventually slow up because the pressure, once the fluid realizes the pressure isn't there anymore, it's going to give up and be like, nope, we're just going to stay sticky now.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
Add that to your lesson plans for next year.
All right. We'll add it to the list.
Yeah, because I kind of want to learn how to make pressure vessels and stuff like that. So I really want to experiment with molasses in that regard and see how it really behaves when it's under pressure. But let's take a look at this giant tank, right? What was it? It was 50 feet tall, 90 feet in diameter.
Yeah.
And it held like 2 million gallons of molasses.
Something stupid like that.
And it's 40 times more dense than water.
Yep.
Could you imagine how much weight, how much pressure is like on the bottom half of that tank? I mean, we're talking tons and tons of pressure. And the harder you hit oobleck, the harder it pushes back on you, the harder it feels. If molasses does the exact opposite, imagine what that millions of gallons, that the thousands of pounds of pressure is doing to that. And so a major culprit that played probably the biggest part in this sticky tsunami is what is known as gravity currents. So gravity was pushing down on the top of the surface level of the molasses, which was still pretty thick. However, though, the opposite of oobleck, or the cornstarch in the water solution, the more pressure that was being applied to it, the thinner and thinner the solution was getting. And then, let's not forget that this molasses was heated up and it was fermenting.
Mm-hmm.
And where do fermenting gases like to go? They like to rise to the top.
Oh.
And when they rise to the top, it puts more pressure onto this gigantic tower of molasses. And you can probably start to see here where you've got gravity compressing a substance that gets thinner under pressure. You've got bacteria and warm climates with a moderate amount of water starting to ferment. It's releasing a whole bunch of CO2. The genius that designed this tank never once considered maybe putting a check valve on the top of it that would vent the CO2 out.
Mm-hmm. That would be helpful. Well, it is the 1910s.
It is, but I mean, they also had them in distilleries, and
that's fair.
Yeah, it wasn't an uncommon piece of technology or a safety measure. But again, molasses, everybody thought like, well, it's a thick brown substance. How dangerous can it be?
Fair point.
And I feel like when we look at our show about dumpster fires, the trash that goes inside a dumpster fire that's not lit yet, but that what you put inside of a dumpster to light it on fire is assumptions.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that.
It seems like the more assumptions that you throw into this, the bigger the fire when it does catch.
Yeah.
So yeah, that means on the bottom of the tank there was extremely high pressures, which turned normal thick molasses thinner and thinner. So at the bottom of the tank, it is nearly as thin as water.
Okay.
That's the thing that blows my mind. Like, it was so under pressure, it is thinner than water. That's where you get that tsunami from.
Mm-hmm.
Then you add the gases on top of it. Yeah, eventually you have a bomb, in other words. I looked up the definition of a bomb, and it is a violent expansion in which energy is transmitted outward as a shockwave.
Okay.
That's literally what this turned into.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like, yeah, we have this pressurized fluid of molasses that created a 25-foot tall tsunami wave moving at 35 miles an hour. So one would hope that the wave of syrup would just emulsify or congeal in due time. And that's exactly what happened, because it was still cold out. It was in the, 40s, 50s, or whatever when this thing went off. But that was what made it so dangerous for those 21 people. The bottom part of that tank, when it exploded, turned into a tsunami. Within seconds, it engulfed everybody. And then once it realized that, hey, we're not under pressure anymore, and it's cold out, it immediately congealed. And it trapped people, horses, cars, dogs. It immediately trapped everybody, and there was nothing you could do to get them out of it.
That's horrendous.
Yeah. And then as people started to rush in, they tried to rescue more people, but you couldn't get into it, because as soon as that hit ankle high, you were stuck. The colder and colder that it got, and since it was no longer under pressure, people were stuck there for days at a time until somebody could come rescue them.
Jeez.
And it took, on top of killing 21 people and it injured 150 more people, it took weeks to clean this up.
I believe it.
Could you imagine? Yeah, could you
No.
here, if you really want to make your Saturday evening interesting or whatever, go into your kitchen, grab a thing of, say, maple syrup, and just dump it all over your floor, and then try to clean it up.
No thanks. Or better yet, put the maple syrup in your fridge, let it chill out, get really thick, and then put it on your floor.
This may be something better to do at your friend's house. Because, I'm sorry, I've had this happen before, because kids, I've had corn syrup break open in my pantry and pour everywhere. It takes hours to clean it up. And you can't just take mop and water to it, because, chemistry fact, sugar does not dissolve in water. Salt that dissolves in water, because like dissolves like. Sodium chloride behaves a lot more like water, and it will separate out into its individual ions. Sugar doesn't do that. Sugar remains sugar. It just gets diluted down and then spread out over a further area, and the floor of your kitchen will sound like a movie theater floor for days on end.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that yeah, everywhere you go. And it took weeks, and even to this day, there are people that believe that on a hot summer day, you can still smell that molasses in that area.
I would like to test that theory one of these days.
Same here. I do have a dream of mine to go up to the Northeast. I want to spend an entire summer just hitting all the major places up there, like that giant tank that exploded. I want to hit Salem. I want to go all up and down that East Coast one of these days, and I want to go there in the middle of summer on the hottest humid day, and I want to sit there just walking around this baseball field, sniffing the air and trying to smell molasses.
So our friends out in Boston, let us know.
Yeah.
I'd love to know.
Yeah, no doubt. Let us know, because you will save me a lot of sniffing.
And money on flight tickets.
No, I'll still fly out there and try it. I just may get arrested for being the weirdo that's wandering around in a baseball field in the middle of Boston sniffing for molasses. But it's okay. I'll own it.
Yeah, at least you own it. That would be kind of weird, though.
It would be kind of weird, but as long as I can take my microphone into the jail cell with me, I can still keep recording.
Fair.
It would be like the Birmingham Papers of podcasting.
There you go.
Just nowhere nearly as noble and epic.
Right.
So yeah, let's wrap this up. So what went into this? What were the assumptions that went into this that people thought that, hey, we've accounted for everything. We've accounted for every variable. We got the super safe tank. There's nothing that can go wrong. 4 years later, kablooey, and we've got people stuck like flies to like the sides of buildings and whatnot. In 1915, when this tank was built, it was shockingly, I know, it was built under very dubious conditions.
Okay.
Primarily because at this time there was no government agency that was like, hey, I don't know what you're planning on putting in this thing, but you need to test it to make sure that it can hold the weight. There really wasn't any of that going around. So like when this tank was built, it was never tested under the conditions. There might be fermented compounds producing CO2. So this was something like even in the Midwest. I remember my mom telling me this because she grew up in Illinois. Like these giant silos, these wheat silos or corn silos all over the Midwest, they actually have vents in there that releases gases that could come from the fermentation process. And if those vents failed, my mom remembers a couple of times in her childhood seeing a silo just explode because the gases build up and all it takes is too much heat or a spark, and now you have tons of corn flying all over the Midwest.
Popcorn.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I would pay good money to see like something like that go down.
Yeah, I'd eat some of that popcorn.
Yeah, it may be covered in cow poop, but it's okay.
That's true.
Just rinse it off.
Some extra veggies in your diet.
Yeah, some extra fiber. So yeah, like this tank was never tested. It was never once evaluated. It was just a tank. The warmer weather, even though for a brief 1 day interval, was enough to spark a problem. The tank itself was constructed way under spec. Keep in mind, the guy who built this tank or engineered, what was his name? It was Arthur Gell.
That's an ironic name.
I know, it really is. It's like, cool. Yeah, what was he a part of? Oh my gosh, Arthur Gell, the company of for the Purity, the Purity Distilling Company. So this was the company that built the tank and that was storing all of the molasses for the purposes of distilling it and making alcohol for either industrial or human consumption. This Arthur Gell guy, he was like an accountant, and he had zero experience with anything engineering.
Because we know this has always gone well.
Oh, yeah. Like, trust an accountant. Actually, I do trust accountant. My father-in-law is an accountant, and he's done my taxes a few times, and I'm not in jail yet, so I think he's doing a good job.
Never trust an accountant with something that's not in their realm of understanding.
Yeah, you're right. Because don't get me wrong, I love the guy. I really do. He's like one of the kindest, most wisest men I've ever known. But he struggles with what end of a screwdriver to use.
Yeah, and that's okay. Like
Yeah.
I would not trust.
Against that, I would just hope that if he came to me like, "Hey, I plan on building a tank to hold like 2.5 million gallons of molasses. You want to help me out?" No. Or maybe let's find a contractor, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
So yeah, like there were studies done in the like 2010s going all the way up to like 2020, where MIT came out and they were measuring the metal, and they're like, this metal was literally half of what it was supposed to be.
That's awful.
And so, okay, 1910s America. Let's see what you would do. Let's say you built this tank and it was grossly insufficient to house the amount of pressure and the weight in there. And you notice like all the rivets, like molasses is leaking out of the rivets. It's leaking out of the hatch doors. Like this thing is just leaking like a sieve to the point where kids coming out of school were like scraping the molasses off and then taking it home as like a treat.
Nice.
So if you were the engineer / accountant that devised this tank and you saw this thing was leaking everywhere, people reported that was groaning and creaking, especially on days where it was really, really full or hotter days. People reported like some really ominous sounds, and you saw all this molasses leaking out of it. How would you fix the problem?
Build a better tank.
Okay, what would be the
Right?
cheaper way to fix it?
Fix the rivets?
Even cheaper than that. Let's go to the paint store and buy hundreds of gallons of brown paint and paint the tank the same color as the molasses.
Oh my god.
You can't tell that it's leaking.
Good. That's the way to go.
That's
it.
That is the legit 1910s way of thinking of fixing this problem. Not, hey, should we drain this thing and maybe reinforce it or maybe tear it down, build a new tank or whatever. And in all fairness, they couldn't do that because the tank was earmarked for alcohol production, which was being banned that year. So it's not like they could just tear it down and then, hey, like 2021, here's a new tank. They couldn't do that. So, like, in all fairness, I can kind of see where they're coming from, but also painting it brown so that it didn't show the leaking molasses as much.
I feel like that's just lazy.
Lazy or sketchy?
Both.
It literally turned in, I think it was eventually when all this is said and done, it turned into a lawsuit. I believe that Purity Distilling Company, they had to shell out like $800,000 in damages.
In 1910s money?
Yeah.
Yikes.
So I don't even know what that would be like. So 800,000 from, like, the first thing comes up is how much 800,000 in Zelda rupees equals. From 1919 to 19, actually no, 2023. What does that equal? Oh wow, okay, so $800,000 in 1919 is equivalent to about cents, hundreds. It came out to $14 million in damages.
Okay.
And I feel like that's kind of low.
Yeah, considering all the damage that was actually done.
Yeah, like maybe $14 million in damages to property, but like, what about the 21 people who died?
Yeah.
You know, like, what about the 150 people that were injured? What about that horse that got flung into the bay? I mean, do we know what happened to that horse? I don't even think the horse knows what happened to that horse.
That's fair.
All it was doing was just chilling there, eating hay or whatever, and the next thing you know, there is a loud thunderclap, and then suddenly it's in a bay, swimming for its life.
Yeah.
And that doesn't even include the dogs and cats that were probably stuck in all that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's quite a mess. For decades after the incident, people reported that the north end of Boston Bay was sticky, which sounds kind of creepy, like going into like a co-ed dormitory at a college, like everything is sticky. Yeah, like, I don't know, man. Like, if I was in North Boston in the Bay Area and everything I touched was sticky, I'm like, I'm out. Like, I don't. There's a reason why, like, with both my daughters, I didn't want them playing with slime. I didn't want them playing with sticky crap because it gets everywhere. Yeah, like, me and sticky stuff that don't get along.
Yeah, that's fair. It's fair.
And it attracts glitter for some odd reason. So when you have two daughters, glitter pops up everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
On hot summer days, people, like I said just before, reported smelling something sweet in the area of the tank explosion in 1915. When the tank was built, the demand for munitions was an all-time high, and alcohol was a primary resource for that. So, like, it seemed like the demand was so high for both human consumption and industrial applications that the technology to maintain the supply of that demand was grossly insufficient. And it's one of the first cases where the government's got involved and they're like, okay, right, if you're a civil engineer, you need to be able to pass a test saying that you can design crap that won't get people killed.
Huh, okay.
Like, when I was in mechanical engineering, didn't have to pass any test. Electrical, chemical, you don't have to pass a national certification. But if you are in civil engineering, where you are engineering buildings and structures that have people interacting with it, yeah, you got to pass a pretty rigorous test to make sure that you understand, like, chemical properties of steel and concrete and rebar and wood, and how all of this stuff works in all different conditions, and how do you model for that and whatnot. So this was one of the first cases where governments kind of got together and be like, okay, if you're going to design something like this, you need to be able to prove that this thing isn't going to kill 21 people, 150 or injure 150 other people, launch a horse into a bay, and get Fido stuck like flies in paper.
I mean, I'd say that's a fair thing to ask of someone.
I agree. And does this not check all the boxes for a dumpster fire?
It really does. It's got everything. It's got,
like, if you're the mayor of Boston at that time and someone came to your desk and like, hey boss, we need to like renegotiate the subway contracts. We have a water shortage in this sector. We probably want to think about building a hospital in this area. And oh yeah, real quick, there was 2 million gallons of molasses that exploded and killed 21 people. But then maybe up over here, we probably need to look at some of the housing development because the land property values are going down. I feel like if you were the mayor, you'd be like, whoa, wait, back up. What? Okay, say that again, but slower. Like, yeah. And so it's one of those things. It's just like, crap. That is a dumpster fire. Like, I feel like this like is like a textbook dumpster fire case. There's a crap ton of resources out there. There's really, really good YouTube channels out there that kind of goes more into the science of how a shear thinning solution works versus a shear thickening solution.
Nice.
Yeah, it's something that you can actually experiment with at home. If you really want to get kicked out of your house, just dump a whole bunch of molasses all over your kitchen floor and try to clean it up.
Right.
Let us know how that turns out, but make sure you subscribe so that when you are kicked out of your house for doing that, you still get the notifications, you still get updates that, you know, that you're getting new episodes. So
yes,
before you get kicked out of your house, please make sure you subscribe to our spoopy little podcast.
Yes, please do. Rate the pod. Tell us how we're doing.
I prefer if you say good things.
That is preferable, but we also take well to critiques. However, if you want to critique us, please send them in a friendly email.
Yeah.
Not in the review section. That would be ideal. But you do you.
Yeah, you do you. Like,
do you.
We'll read it. And yeah, you now just got to set up on Amazon, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So now we're on Amazon, as well as Apple, Spotify, Google, and there's one more.
Oh, was it? Oh dear.
Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon. Okay, that's all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple of others out there that I may look into because I used to use a couple other different like podcatchers because of the like I'm a huge fan of like Star Talk and then Mysterious Universe and Morbid, and they weren't all on the same place. And now they are. Like I can get them all on the Google. But yeah, I think that's like 90% of where all podcasts come from. So yeah, if you obviously if you're listening to this, you have some sort of access to one of the major ones. But yeah, don't be afraid to spread the word. We're on Instagram now.
Yeah.
I think, Carrie, you have like 5 posts.
I have 10 posts now.
Oh, 10 posts.
I know. I'm going to post again. What day is this? Tuesday. I'm going to post again tomorrow.
Okay.
And maybe Friday. I'm trying to get myself on some sort of routine with it.
And I need to hop onto that too and make some posts.
Yeah, we'll get there.
I need to tow my own weight on this.
Make some stories. I don't know. We'll figure this social media thing out. But until then, it is up. We're posting links up there. We're posting episodes up there. Trying to keep it entertaining for you.
And then, so what do you have in mind for an upcoming episode?
All right, are you ready? You ready?
Yes, I'm dying for this.
I'm going to take it back. I'm going to take it way, way back.
Okay.
We're going to talk about King Tutankhamun. We're going to talk about his finding of his tomb. And we're going to talk about why his tomb is more famous than the man himself. And then we're going to talk about the mysterious circumstances around his death. And we're going to talk about how his reputation precedes him in a way that might maybe fail us
Be
as
like
humans.
misunderstood.
Yep. So kind of like the Cleopatra.
Okay.
But Cleopatra was a very different animal than King Tut.
Well, and I feel like when we look at King Tut, like I've actually I think they did like a tour of like the sarcophagus and the artifacts that they found in there. I think it was at the Arizona Science Center at one point in time. It may not have been King Tut's, but it was cool nonetheless. But one of the things that stood out to me, and again, when we talk about dumpster fires, is hey, if I'm an archaeologist, I'm being paid to find archaeological things.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the best tool at your disposal to find those things? Dynamite.
Yes. And also
that's a lot of how like King Tut's like tomb was actually found, was by blowing the crap out of it.
Yes. And it's really interesting at that point in time, just a little mini dumpster fire to get you started, like a little teaser here. It was found in, I believe, I just started researching, so forgive me, but it was found in the 1920s. Mm-hmm. And during that time, they didn't care about the mummies, they just wanted the artifacts. So when the ancient Egyptians did mummify, they would pour oil on top of the body, and that oil solidified in the sarcophagus, and they could not get the mummy out, like by hand. Really? So they sawed it in half.
Oh, good.
Took it out, and then put it back together again.
Oh, my Lord.
You're welcome.
And if I remember correctly, I was listening to another podcast, but this was also right around the same time that they would like unearth mummies, and they would grind them up into a powder.
Mm-hmm.
And then dole that out as like a mystical drink for like longevity and youth.
Oh yeah, that was something that was done way back.
Yeah,
not like 1920s, like probably 1700s.
And then there was also the when they stopped grinding up the mummies, a popular hobby amongst some rather weird collectors was to collect mummified phalluses.
Organs,
yep, mm-hmm. of the reproductive kind, and they would have them on display.
It's weird.
Because, white people.
It's so disturbing.
I feel like that's something that would happen in Florida. Man arrested for having 75 mummified penises in his living room.
Oh, that would happen in Florida. Anyway, sorry, Floridians, but you have a reputation. King Tut, it's one of those things where it's a lot of like little weird dumpster fires inside of a bigger story. That's the best way that I can put it. So it's not like you could sell it as a giant dumpster fire, but it's more like a bunch of little trash can fires that make a dumpster fire. Anyway, so I'm excited to talk about it.
So what that actually reminds me of, because my wife deals with like physical waste. Like I feel like when I see her working, she's dealing with people that have like piles of disposed tires in their backyard.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like King Tut here and this whole topic that's coming up is going to be not a dumpster fire, but it's going to be a backyard of tire fires.
Yeah.
Just here's 4 or 5 tires over there on fire. There's 6 or 7 over there on fire. There's like one on the roof of the house that's on fire. We don't know what happened there. Mm-hmm. Like, mm-hmm. I feel like that's what it is. It's not a true dumpster fire, but it's a tire fire.
That's it. That's the best way to put it.
And my wife would be so proud of me.
I could not put it into good words like 10 minutes ago, but that's solid work. But yes, that's what I've got coming up next week. I'm excited to talk about it. Well, next episode.
Well, cool deal. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that. So, yeah, in the meantime, go back, listen to our previous episodes, take a look at our massive, expansive social media influence.
We're getting up there, guys. We're getting there.
There's
only 2 of us.
Yeah,
we work full-time jobs.
yeah, we are.
Just keep that in mind.
Oh my god, I just realized that your sign-on is Molasses Lasses.
Sure is.
Sick.
You're welcome.
I like that.
Just so all of you are aware, I changed my username on our recording software depending on the theme of the show. So maybe we'll make that a theme every time we record. Today is Molasses Lasses. We'll see what it is for King Tut. I'll let you know.
Well, the last one, it was like poop, wasn't it? Or something like that?
I don't remember. Oh, for the dysentery one, I think it was something with dysentery for Oregon Trail. Yeah.
Yeah. I just like...
It was just dysentery.
Because I chose your name as like dis and then like apostrophe and Terry, like why are you dissing Terry? And then you signed on, changed it to poop. I'm like, fair enough.
It was something really dumb, yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna stand out when I gotta download everything.
Yeah, we'll make that stick. I'll let you know every time I record what the name is.
So, but all right, guys, we'll get out of your hair. Appreciate you listening.
Yeah, we have to see you next time.
Keep it a hot mess, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.